Before we get to the show for today, I want to thank our sponsor, Anchor.fm. As you probably have heard by now, Sportswire has moved to Anchor.fm for its podcast hosting and distribution. It's the easiest way to make a podcast, and let me explain why. Main reason is that it's free. There are creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or your computer, and then Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on any platform there is. Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, anywhere. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership, and it's everything you need to make a podcast all in one place. So take it from me, Vinny Apicella from the Sportswire. Download the free Anchor app or go to Anchor.fm to get started. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, you are listening to the most electrifying podcast in all of internet radio today. You are listening to the Sportswire. It is now 2:05 a.m. on Monday, March 23rd, 2020. We are in the middle of a new normal. For the past, I want to say, week and a half, we have been going through a lot of changes in society. And I don't have to rehash everything that's been going on in the news because unless you've been living under a rock and completely shutting yourself out of any kind of media, social media or television or any kind of news, which in this case, if you turned yourself off any kind of media, you probably wouldn't be listening to this anyways. You know that the world, not even just the United States, but the world is facing this horrible pandemic of the coronavirus, also known as COVID-19, which actually translates to coronavirus disease 2019. Hence why they shortened it to COVID-19. But the fact is that we're living in times now that are that we've never navigated through. At least, now they had the deadly flu epidemic in 1918, and, there have been really bad epidemics in the past, but in current society, we've never faced anything like this. We've gone through the SARS, we've gone through the Ebola, and the coronavirus is actually a different strain of those diseases, which they're all acronyms for something. Like SARS was something with the respiratory syndrome, SARS, and then Ebola was something different. But they're all part of the same strain of disease. And unfortunately, there's no cure for it yet, although there have been some different medications and people have beaten it. As a matter of fact, there's a 97% survival rate. It's just a matter of how bad it could get. And the majority of symptoms are fever, a fever and a bad cough, a dry cough. So if you have like phlegm in your lungs or whatever, that's not it for the most part. That's kind of like your allergies or bronchitis, pneumonia type of thing. But if you just have phlegm in your throat or whatever, chances are that's not the coronavirus because it's a dry cough. A lot of other things are shortness of breath, if you can't catch your breath, or, and more, there are some more fatal things that go along with it, especially if you have pre-existing conditions. The majority of fatalities have been people over the age of 70, or that have pre-existing conditions like diabetes or, heart disease or, other stuff. So please be careful. I myself, we're all taking precautions here. The government is putting through stimulus packages here in the U.S. I have to applaud President Trump and his team for how great they are with containing this. They jumped right on it. And, some of us may not agree with having to stay in our homes for the most part, and self-isolate and the social distancing thing and closing the restaurants and, canceling every single sports league canceled the rest of their season. Baseball postponed for 2 weeks. WrestleMania did not cancel, and I'll get to WrestleMania, WWE, and AEW in a little bit. But we are living in a new norm. 4 minutes in. By the way, my name is Vinny Apicella. I am here with you from my house here in New Britain, Connecticut. I know it's been hit or miss about me recording these, but I can guarantee you from now on, it's going to be daily. And the reason why I say that is because my hours got cut at work and I have more time to devote to it. But like I said, I have to applaud President Trump for him and his team and how they're reacting to it. He came out earlier this week that, basically how the way we are right now, it could be here, could be like it until August. Chances are it'll be May or June. I have a feeling it's only going to be a couple months, although a lot of experts are speculating that there could be another outbreak towards the fall. I don't understand why, but I'm not a scientist. I'm not a doctor. I'm not somebody that deals with infectious diseases. I don't know why or how they can predict that it's going to come back towards the fall. With that said, I want to say that, a lot of people are upset with this, but you know what? This is the way it's got to be. And I've been very reluctant myself. I'll be honest with you. I do feel that the mainstream media and the media itself is providing a lot more fear. They're providing a lot of stats, and there are some that are more factual than others. Definitely stick with Fox. But at the same time, all this stuff being thrown at you gets more fear and anxiety rather than, it's more fear and anxiety that's necessary. The fear is actually more dangerous than the virus itself. And that's the unfortunate part of the way we live in and how the news cycle is like literally 24 minutes now instead of 24 hours. And people are able to get on and push, the networks are able to push notifications to your phone. Like I see, like every time somebody gets contracted with a new case of COVID-19, I see a thing on the phone. Oh, New Britain mayor just confirmed their first case of COVID-19. Big deal. I don't care. It's not that I don't care about the person, but it's like, we don't need to know this. Okay? All we have to know is to be, cautious. Wash your hands. Use your hand sanitizer. Don't touch your face if you've, touched other stuff, because we don't know how long. We've gotten conflicting numbers as to how long this virus could live on other surfaces. I've heard some anywhere from 4 to 6 hours on like metal or doors or whatever. And even, fruit and stuff. Make sure you're washing your fruit because other people are handling it. If you have to, wear gloves. If you have to wear a mask to block your own. See, here's the thing. The masks block your own spittle, for lack of a better term, droplets, germs from going other places. That's the that's what the masks are for. The masks will not protect you. If anything, wear gloves. That's what's gonna protect you even more. We have to stay 6 feet away from people. That's why all the restaurants and bars have closed and doing pick up and delivery only, which really hurt them for St. Patrick's Day. People are not traveling as much anymore. Like I said, my hours at work got cut. So working at a hotel, there are only 2 hourly people working, and we both got our hours cut. So that's unfortunately the new reality. Now, granted, there are a lot of things in effect that the Trump administration and the governments in general of the states are doing to help people out. If you're temporarily out of work because of this, go to unemployment. They will. Yeah, I think they approved 6 weeks or something, and they'll go based on, more. The Trump administration is trying to do a stimulus where everybody over the age of 18 who makes $75,000 a year or less gets a stimulus of $1,200 at immediately, and then they'll do more if they have to, within the next 2 months or whatever. So this is the new norm that we're living in, and it's unfortunate. It is. The NBA suspended the rest of their season after one of their players, Rudy Gobert, tested positive, and then during his press conference, he was very, very just a moron. Okay, he was very unprofessional and dangerous. He touched everything and coughed on anything because he wasn't taking it seriously. He did come out and apologize though. The XFL, they canceled the rest of their season because of this. As a matter of fact, the first point is that a worker, a vendor, a popcorn vendor or whatever, tested positive in Seattle. And think about it. You're at a football game and you had contact with all those people. Then I believe there was a couple of players that contracted it. The NHL thus far haven't heard anything about it, but the NHL did suspend their season, but I haven't heard anything remotely touching the NHL. Haven't heard any, Major League Baseball postponed the start of their season for 2 weeks and canceled spring training. Haven't heard anything in terms of anybody from the MLB testing positive. Nothing. Major League Soccer postponed, suspended the rest of their season because of this. The former owner of Real Madrid, the soccer team from Spain, he passed away after contracting this. But again, he was in his 70s. Tom Hanks and his wife Rita Wilson both contracted it while down in Australia, and they've been self-quarantining, and I believe they're over it now, but it's because it's been almost 2 weeks. But this is the new normal. Buffets are closed. Even like at our hotel, we offer the buffet breakfast. That's been closed down. Our pool's been closed down. Our fitness center, gyms are closed. So it's like you're literally, other than going to the supermarket and the bank, the laundromat, you're staying home. Even supermarkets that used to be 24 hours, all supermarkets cut back their hours. People went on a toilet paper buying rampage. Just absolutely ridiculous. Like, why stock up on toilet paper? Like, and you can imagine, and I'm sure you've seen all the memes that are going around about that. About hand sanitizers, you can't hardly find them. I finally found some online. I had to order them. But you can't find any frozen vegetables. You can't, except for okra and edamame. But, people are going into survivalist tactics and they're hoarding stuff. And that's not the way it should be. Be courteous to your fellow person who goes out and, like I like to go shopping early in the morning after I get out of work. And, people buy everything already. I didn't jump on the thing and buy 10 cases of toilet paper or whatever. I've got maybe 15 rolls. I'm fine. You know what I mean? But it's had an effect in every aspect. The stock markets have gone down dramatically because of this. There's a lot of theories as to where it came from. We know it came from China. That we know it, which is why it was called the Wuhan flu or whatever, the Chinese disease. And people say, oh, that's racist. No, it did. It came from China. Whatever story you want to believe, that it came from people that are eating bats. I feel like it was designed in a lab, and it was sent out biological warfare style. I mean, you got to think about it. How did it spread so quickly? Because China knew what they were doing. They were sending people out to all corners of the country on purpose. Like, they knew. It was calculated. Yes, they had to forego a lot of their people And they did. They built temporary hospitals. But what people fail to realize is that this thing started in November in China. We didn't hear about it. At least I didn't hear about it until like January. And everybody's, oh, it's the same thing. It's not going to be as bad. But it dang came over to the U.S. faster than Wish uh, orders. A lot faster, actually. But it's because people are still traveling. And back in January, when President Trump, put on flight restrictions from the Asian countries, people were saying, "Oh, you're racist, you're racist." He wanted to control the spread of the disease. Look at Italy. Italy's actually worse than China now. The entire country is in lockdown. Other than certain few businesses that are able to be open. You know what I mean? And that's the sad truth to the reality that we're in now. DoorDash, Uber Eats, Grubhub. I'm sure they're making a mint off of it. But it unfortunately is the new normal that we're living with right now. So that's what it is. I'm going to take a quick break. I'll be right back, and then I'm going to get on to WWE, AEW news, and what I'm doing during my lockdown self-isolation at home. Okay, I am back. Thank you for listening again. My name is Vinny Avzalo. This is the Sportswire segment 2 today. And coming back, like I said, today is March 23rd, 2020. It is currently 2:26 a.m. Now, moving on to WWE, AEW. And I have to say, given all this uncertainty in the times that we're in, I want to really applaud both WWE and AEW for their commitment to bring wrestling fans, entertainment. Their shows, their closed circuit, their empty arenas. AEW is doing a little better because they're letting some of the underneath talent sit in the stands, other than MJF and Sean Spears sitting in the audience and heckling Cody and so on and so forth. But I really want to applaud them for going through with it, because quite honestly, without that, there's nothing. Like yesterday, Sunday, the 22nd, they actually aired WrestleMania 30 on ESPN. Like, there's no sports. And I'm sure that was probably an XFL time slot or whatever, and they utilized it. But to see WrestleMania air on ESPN is like, oh my God, I never thought I'd ever hear it. Because, I know ESPN and WWE have kind of been, partnering a lot more lately. They had a WWE Slammy Award, ESPY Award. But at the same time, I never thought I'd hear about WWE and ESPN partnering up like this, where WrestleMania 30, a WrestleMania would be on ESPN, like insanity. The last time they actually spoke anything about wrestling, I can't say, like, it's been, but it was back when Lawrence Taylor, you know what I mean, back WrestleMania 11, but Floyd Mayweather and the Big Show came after that, and but regardless, it was quite a ways, quite a few years ago, but now they have actually, and they're going forward until WrestleMania, putting WrestleMania on broadcast TV, whether, I'm assuming, ESPN or Fox, because, there's no sports on. So like I said, I have to applaud WWE and AEW. This past week's episode of Dynamite was great. One of the best they ever had. It came out that, was debuted for the Exalted One of the Dark Order, being Brody Lee, excuse me. It didn't have the feel like it should have. You know what I mean? Like, do you remember when they had the reveal of the higher power back during the Attitude Era of the corporate ministry, and it turned out to be Vince McMahon? You had the cloaked figure cutting the promo, right in the middle of the ring, and it's like, instead they had a video showing that Brody Lee was the Exalted One. And then he came out and attacked the SCU, and I like the I like the nod to Bray Wyatt, where he looked like he set up for the Sister Abigail before he did this discus clothesline. I think it was to Kazarian. But, it was, it was good, but it didn't work for me. And the reason why, not only was it a bad reveal, but, his outfit, his tights, it didn't look like it belonged with the Dark Order. Like it had an eye on it and had blue in it. When we know the dark, excuse me, I've been listening to Jim Cornette too much. The Dark Order are in all black. Why couldn't he come down with a mask on? Like one of their creeper masks. Like they're two gimmick guys. They're two jobber guys that are in there. Why couldn't he come down like that? And then be revealed as the Exalted One. You know what I mean? That would make more sense. But again, that was just something small. And then, they chose Matt Hardy. Broken Matt Hardy is now in AEW. He's going to be the 5th member of the Elite team going into Blood and Guts, which Blood and Guts has actually been postponed, which I get it. That show should not be in an empty arena. You need the fans. So that's been postponed until whenever we're off this lockdown. So we'll see when that happens. But by then, Matt Jackson should be back from injury. So I don't know how they're going to get out of that. But this week on Dynamite, you're going to see Matt Hardy versus Chris Jericho 1-on-1. Which I don't know if they've ever actually faced each other. I'm not sure. I don't know. Maybe in a tag match or two, but I don't know. We'll have to see how that goes off. We know that, Jon Moxley is the new AEW World Champion, beat Chris Jericho at Revolution. And he was actually barred from the building this past week. He wasn't cleared to compete, so he wasn't cleared to go in the building. So, I don't know what that's all about. But maybe he just didn't want to go near anybody and practice his social distancing. WWE news, as everybody's heard by now, WrestleMania will still happen on April 5th. It'll actually be 2 nights, the 4th and the 5th, emanating from multiple places, actually. All closed sets. It's not going to just be from the Performance Center, but they're good. And I have a feeling it's because a lot of people can't travel. But they're doing closed sets. And they're actually recording them on Tuesday and Wednesday. It's going to be a pre-recorded WrestleMania. And, all the other events have been canceled. I'm assuming they're going to be moving them to SummerSlam weekend, at least for the Hall of Fame induction ceremony. Move it to SummerSlam in August. Makes more sense with that. How do I feel about a closed set WrestleMania? Pre-taped, no less. Well, you know what? Like I said, I applaud them for putting on the show. And, they're capitalizing on it. They made shirts that said WrestleMania 36. I wasn't there. It's just a cute little gimmick. I get it. And some people are offended because they were supposed to come from out of the country. And, but with the travel bans, you can't get here anywhere. Anyway, so why can't you, just kind of have fun with it? A lot of people are so uptight. I get it that you're upset about it, but you can't blame the WWE. You can't just say, "Oh, we're gonna cancel it and hold it in June or whatever." You can't do it, and the reason why you can't do it is because they've already built these storylines, and it's like no matter how much kayfabe is dead, and we know the wrestling is predetermined. You can't just say, okay, well, we're going to kind of stop everything now and just resume when this is over and, we'll push WrestleMania off till June, but we'll keep the same matches. You can't do that. I mean, unless you're going to find some way to keep the stories going, and some of them you can't. You just can't. Like with Brock and McIntyre. You can't keep that one going because, you don't know with Brock. You know what I mean? Same thing with Goldberg and Roman Reigns. You don't know with Goldberg if he's going to, be here for longer. And that's the other thing you have to worry about. I'm sure Goldberg was just signed to a short-term contract, a short-term deal to come in and just do, you know, Elimination Chamber and or Super Showdown and WrestleMania. You know what I mean? So we'll see how it goes. I'm looking forward to it. Like I said, I still applaud the WWE for making that, making the attempt to keep us entertained, and for making that decision to stay operating rather than just saying, you know what, we're going to close down. For Raws, we're going to show, classic Raws, we're going to show classic SmackDown, whatever. You don't necessarily, you can't do that. It's like everybody's got access to the network, so why are you going to show classic episodes? You know what I mean? And it kind of takes people out of the current stuff, because how are you going to build it back up? I mean, yes, you could probably show Attitude Era Raws, or even Nitros for that matter, to kind of get people back into wrestling. Somebody could flip, oh my gosh, I remember this from when I was younger. And, get the Attitude Era, but then you're going to come back to newer stuff that's not nearly as good. You know what I mean? So I get it. You kind of can't do that. But like I said, I got to applaud both AEW and WWE for their commitment to entertaining us. NWA seized all operations currently, suspended everything. MLW, the same thing. I do want to bring something up. Evil Uno from the Dark Order posted on, I believe it was Instagram, to say, support the independent wrestlers and contribute to their GoFundMe or their Patreons or whatever, because they're losing out on the WrestleMania paydays because of, WrestleCon being canceled and all this other stuff, and Braun Strowman replied to him and said, why? If you can't make the money doing, your career, supposedly, go get another job. Now, granted, it's probably mistimed because of this, and people are losing their jobs, and, they're getting temporarily laid off because of this, and independent wrestlers are no different. But, it's just, he's got a point. Like, why? First of all, everybody's losing income. Everybody. Why are you gonna go on social media and tell fans who don't make nearly as much, to go support somebody else, on Patreon or on GoFundMe when they have their own families to look after? Like, I get it. Some of my friends are indie wrestlers. Bobby Ocean, the Mac, and I'm sure they're not doing any indie bookings, and maybe some of them aren't even working but you know what? I get it. But at the same time, it's like, I don't have extra money to support them when I'm worried about my own income paying my bills. You know what I mean? That was just very classless of Evil Uno to do that. And Braun Strowman put him in his place. And Braun Strowman is getting the heat. And saying, it's like, apparently Braun is not being paid because there's no live events. That I don't buy, because they're on contract. They do get a downside guarantee. I don't know. I don't know why he said it like that. But I don't understand why he's getting the heat and not Evil Uno. Like, Braun Strowman pointed out, saying, if you can't make ends meet with what you're doing, find another career. Like when he pointed out, like when he went to Orlando to the Performance Center, he literally went down there with $150 in his pocket and a Kiesel. Although I don't know how he fit into a Kiesel, because I don't think I can fit into a Kiesel, and I'm half the size of him. About the same weight, but half the height. But, it's like, I don't get it. I really don't. I don't understand how Evil Uno is being praised. And Braun Strowman is getting the heat. I don't know, but I support Braun Strowman in exactly what he said. Throughout this time, I'm going to try to get some interviews with people, other wrestling fans. I'm actually trying to contact Nyla Rose, because I have a science paper that I'm doing on transgender females in sports, and I wanted her take, because her interview with Chris Jericho on his podcast was awesome. So I kind of wanted to find follow up with that and kind of get her personal experience. But we'll see. She hasn't responded to my DM or even a tweet. She hasn't responded to anything. So we'll see how that goes. Anyways, I want to thank you all for listening. My name is Vinny Apicella. Find me on Twitter at VApicella, SWE. You can follow the Sportswire on Instagram and Twitter at Sportswire Audio. Download all of the Sportswire you get episodes and subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and everywhere else that you find your favorite podcast. Leave us a 5-star review, or you can go right to www.sportswireaudio.com, and you can go ahead and listen right there. It brings you to our anchor.fm page. All right, thank you very much for listening. We'll see you tomorrow right here on the Sportswire.